Okay, welcome back. It looks like we're on our final episode of our Bible study series, the Day of Atonement fulfilled in 70 AD. This is episode 5. The Jubilee was also fulfilled in 70 AD. So again, this is a final episode. I think it's going to be a short one. So the purpose is to show that the year of Jubilee was also fulfilled on the Day of Atonement in 70 AD. We've got the Jubilee narrative here. If you want to get the entire narrative, you'll need to read Leviticus chapter 25, the entirety of it. But right here, we're now just going to look at a portion of it, the main portion for our purposes here. This is verse 8. And you shall count seven Sabbaths of years for yourself, 7 times 7 years. And the time of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be to you 49 years. Then you shall cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month, on the Day of Atonement. So there it is, it's the same day. You shall make the trumpet to sound throughout all your land, and you shall consecrate the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you, and each of you shall return to his possession, and each of you shall return to his family. That 50th year shall be a jubilee to you. In it you shall neither sow nor reap what grows of its own accord, nor gather the grapes of your untended vine, for it is the jubilee, it shall be holy to you. You shall eat its produce from the field. In this year of Jubilee, each of you shall return to his possession. So there's a narrative there. And when was it to be proclaimed? And as we pointed out in verse 9, it was on the Day of Atonement, which we've shown in previous episodes. We believe that was fulfilled in 70 AD. And what is it that was to occur on the year of Jubilee? And the answer is that liberty would be proclaimed to everyone, and everyone was to return to his possession or his family. This had to do with slaves. They could be set free. If there were debts, they were to be forgiven. So it's kind of like hitting the reset button might be the best way to describe it in our terms today. So important note here, there's no biblical record of the Israelites ever observing the Jubilee. For example, they were carried away captive to Babylon for 70 years for not keeping the Sabbath. And if they didn't keep the Sabbath, they certainly didn't keep the Jubilee. So, however, everything's in the Bible for a reason. All things had to be fulfilled. And the only way that the Jubilee would be fulfilled was for Christ to fulfill it himself. And he did that in his return at 70 AD. Here's an important passage too. This is Isaiah 61, 1-3. And Luke, in the Gospel of Luke, Jesus also spoke this in the synagogue. In Luke chapter 4, he said, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good tidings to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to console those who mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called the trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified." So in verse 2, which we had highlighted there, most believe that Jesus, via Isaiah's prophecy, is linking the year of Jubilee, what's referred to as the acceptable year of the Lord in this passage in Isaiah. He's linking that with the day of the Lord, which would be the day of vengeance of our God in this passage. And this was to be fulfilled at his coming at 70 AD. And again, the preterist viewpoint, what did this mean in 70 AD? Everyone returning to his possession. 3 points here. Believers were returned to their possession or to their family to be with Christ, and that would happen via the rapture or resurrection for those who had already died. Point number 2, the wicked or persecutors of Christians were consumed in the fire. And point 3, Satan, Azazel, was returned to his possession in the darkness or wilderness, or what we call the abyss or the bottomless pit, as we saw in the examples that we gave in previous episodes, Leviticus 16, Revelation 20, and 1st Enoch. So I had a pretty quick one again. The takeaway from today's study, and even the takeaway from the whole study series, is that both the Day of Atonement and the Jubilee were fulfilled at the return of Christ in 70 AD. I hope you enjoyed the study. Let me know if any comments or questions. Otherwise, it's probably going to be the final one for this study. And until next time, contend earnestly for the faith, which was once for all delivered to the saints, and God bless.